What if there was a single set of principles that could explain the whole of reality? Something that connects together traditions across the world and throughout history. Well, there is this book, the Kybalion, which puts forward 7 principles that supposedly explain the nature of reality. And the interesting thing is that these ideas do seem to appear in Buddhism and Advaita Vedanta and Christian mysticism and Taoism. So today I want to take a look at these principles and see whether they are actually pointing to something real. So the book was published in 1908, and it was published under the pseudonym The Three Initiates. But we don't really know for certain who wrote the book. Many people think that it was probably this guy called William Walker Atkinson, and that he took influence from another couple of people, hence the name The Three Initiates. But we don't know for certain. But what we do know is that it's based on an ancient philosophy called Hermeticism. And Hermeticism is built up around a figure named Hermes Trismegistus. So it's not a religion, it's more of a framework that gives us a way of looking at reality. And at the centre of it are the 7 principles. The first principle is mentalism. All is mind. It's basically saying that fundamentally everything is a product of the mind, or that consciousness comes first. Everything appears within awareness. Now this principle is very clearly reflected in other traditions. For example, in Advaita Vedanta, we have the famous lines from the Upanishads. So it says that all this is Brahman. And then in another part, it also says Brahman is consciousness. Also in Buddhism, in the very first line of the Dhammapada, it says life is a creation of mind. The second principle is the principle of correspondence. It says, as above, so below, as below, so above. It's essentially saying that throughout the universe, patterns are reflected across different layers of reality. The inner reflects the outer, the micro reflects the macro. And this is also reflected quite nicely in the Tao Te Ching, when it says man follows the earth follows the universe follows the Tao. There's this sense that everything is connected, that the same structures appear everywhere, and that reality is echoing itself at different scales. The third principle is the principle of vibration. Nothing rests, everything is moving, everything is vibrating. As they say in Buddhism, all conditioned things are impermanent. And in Taoism, the Tao flows everywhere. Nothing is fixed, nothing stands still. Anything that we experience as solid and stable is actually in motion. The fourth principle is polarity. So while everything is dual, and everything has its opposite, like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature. This is because if things are opposite, then they are 2 ends of one pole, 2 ends of one spectrum. Like it says in the Tao Te Ching, being and non-being create each other. This links to what I said in a couple of previous videos about self and no self, and emptiness and fullness, possibly pointing towards the exact same thing. The fifth principle is rhythm. Everything flows out and in, everything has its tides, all things rise and fall. That's life, isn't it? Everything moves in cycles. Everything that expands contracts. Everything that is born dies again. In Taoism, it says, reversal is the movement of the Tao. I don't know if you've seen the YouTube channel Spiritual Unfolding with John Butler, but John said something very beautiful which I think ties in very well to this. He said that the changing comes from the unchanging, and it returns to the unchanging. The changing being this world as we know it, and the unchanging being God. We are breathed out and breathed back in again. The sixth principle is cause and effect. Every cause has its effect, every effect has its cause. And this is very much in line with Buddhism, isn't it? Where we have dependent origination that says that nothing arises independently. Everything arises dependent on something else. We are all one process that's flowing. And even in the Bible, it says, as you sow, so you shall reap. Everything unfolds through pattern. Even something as simple as a thought, which shapes our habits, and then our habits shape our identity. The eighth principle is the principle of gender. It says gender is everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principle. Now, this isn't really about male and female. It is about the two different aspects of reality, active and receptive, doing and being, structure and flow. This is reflected in Taoism, in the yin and the yang. Everything is made up of a balance of yin and yang, and that is the most important thing, finding that balance. And then creation comes from the coming together of the two. When I first read this book, to me it just seemed like I was reading something that was true, you know? It ties in so well to all of these different traditions and to my own experience of reality. Because that's the thing, you don't really have to just take any of these words as truth. You can pay attention to your own experience and see what you find. Like when you sit and pay attention, don't you find that everything is changing and that everything happens in cycles and there are patterns to everything and that everything arises within awareness? Let me know what you think. Do these principles reflect what you see in your experience? Do any of them resonate with you more strongly than the others? Yeah, let me know in the comments, and if you want to continue exploring these kinds of ideas, then watch this video next.